This week is going to start off with just introducing you to the Inventor software and kind of working through the different menus and the way that the way the program works. And then we'll do a simple part um, later in the week for you to get a feel for how the thing works. Now, to start with, you have to think differently when you're working with Inventor or another 3D parametric software as opposed to drawing in AutoCAD. Because in AutoCAD, you draw it precisely exactly the right size and shape and angles when you're drawing it. Therefore, we use construction lines a lot in AutoCAD. In Inventor, you have a totally different paradigm, a different way of thinking, in that you're going to create a two-dimensional sketch that doesn't have to be correct. It can be close in shape and size. And then you apply constraints and dimensions to make your sketch precise. Then you extrude your part. So uh, the big downfall a lot of people have is they try to draw in Inventor like they draw in AutoCAD. And that's not the way you do it. You have to think differently. It's almost like working with clay or Play-Doh. You kind of start with a clump and you massage it and shape it and tool it to get it to be the right shape. You don't start out with the exact shape to begin with. Okay, so the software works differently. We have a different way of thinking while we're working in 3D environment. There's the previous video on setting up the Inventor options. And if you haven't done that, go through and make those changes to your version of the software so that your stuff works like my stuff in my tutorial videos. So when you launch Inventor, this is the home screen. Okay. If you have opened and saved files, they'll be displayed here. Okay. And this is a brand new install for me, so I have not done any work in Inventor since I had the new version installed. Here's the options where you can make your either changes that I have in that video. Um, Really, there's nothing else up here that we're dealing with in this class. You probably will not have this cam toolbar because that's an add-in that we have for the 2040 Advanced 3D class. We do some machining in that, so the software in the lab will have cam installed, but you won't have it on your computer at home probably. Okay. Collaborate. I don't, we don't deal with that in this class. So basically, basically on this screen, application options is it. Okay. Here is your um, projects. Now, I'm going to address projects later in the class, but let me tell you to begin with, Inventor keeps track of everything almost like a relational database. Okay. It's kind of hard to explain until you actually start working into it. But if you create a part file and you save it somewhere on your computer, that's fine. You can use Windows to move or copy that. You can use Windows to rename it. And there will not be a problem as far as Inventor is concerned. But once you go beyond a single part file and you create a drawing of that part or an assembly that has that part in the assembly, now you can no longer move or rename those things because Inventor keeps track of where everything is located and what its names are. So if you if you name your file incorrectly, do not use Windows to rename that file. It will mess everything up. Okay, so to begin with, while we're just doing part files, you can use the default project for all of your files. That's fine. And I highly recommend that you create a subfolder for your class. Now, I don't have this one by weeks. I've just got it by parts. But like in my 11, most of my classes, I have everything broken down by week. So I've got a folder for the class, a folder for each week, and within that week, I've got folders for each of the exercises. I would recommend you do that for 1105 also. Okay, once we start doing drawings, you will start creating subfolders for that project, that assignment, and then we will start creating the Inventor project files. And once we get to that point, I will explain what that is. But here's where you can change. Right now, I've got these few project files that Inventor has picked up, okay? So you can change them here. If you need to create one, you go here and you go to Settings, and you go to a new project, and you create a new project. Okay. Now, to open a new file, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. From this screen, you can click on New, and it will take you to the last type of file that you opened. If you hit the pull down, it asks you for part, assembly, drawing, stuff like that. The problem is it takes you to the last one that you opened. So if you're switching between metric and imperial, don't just click on the down arrow and click a part. Okay, same way it works up here in this toolbar. You click on this, it will open the last one that you use. But if you just click on the actual folder, it takes you to the list of templates. And what you'll see the first time is you'll just see this, templates English US. If you expand it, you get all of them here. And so we're going to start a standard part file. Okay, so now we're into our program specifically. And you notice your toolbar across the top has changed. we've got the open, the save, the go back, the go forward, home, projects here. You can create and change projects, but you can't really change projects while you're got files open and active. Okay. You can select faces or edges here, which we'll get into some of these things later. Right here, we've got our material type, and then our material finish. And we'll get into those later on in the class also. You've got the tabs across here for the different things: 3D model, sketch, annotate, where we do dimensioning, inspection tools, cam. A lot of these are more advanced things that we'll get into later. And within each tab, then you've got the panels of different operations. And it's very similar to what you have in AutoCAD, okay? If your things disappear, okay, if you inadvertently click this little button right here, it changes your whole menu system. And you should be able just to keep clicking through it, and as you see, if that has been checked, it'll cycle through all of them. If you right click up here in the menu, you go here, you can change the ribbon appearance, what panels are showing. Okay, and this list on the right will change based on which panels that you're in right here, which tab that you have selected. And I keep primitives turned on because I find it easy to use the primitives when I'm sketching rectangles, or I got to make a box or a cylinder. It saves a couple of steps to use the primitives. Um, some of the other ones here are a lot more advanced type things, and they don't have to be turned on. Convert, um, simulation. These are much more advanced type things that we're not going to get into at the very beginning of this semester. When you're in Inventor, you've just like in AutoCAD has the view cube over here. We've also got our UCS down here, which different from AutoCAD. This is not the 0, 0 point. This just shows you the axes, okay? And you can drag the cube, the view cube, okay, to rotate it, and you saw how the UCS turned there. You hit the home key, it takes you to an isometric view, which is the way most parts will save. And then you've got the toolbars over here, the I don't know, the navigation wheel. I don't use it that much. You may find you like it. I don't particularly care for it too much. These other things, pan and zoom and orbit, um, I find it easier. You can press down your mouse wheel and pan. You scroll your mouse wheel to zoom. You can hold down the shift key and the mouse wheel, and that will orbit. Okay, so those are some of the options there. The look at face right here, if you want to orient your view to a particular face, you click that and then click that face. Okay. Down here across the bottom, if you've got multiple files open, they'll appear here, okay, in the little tabs. The view command up here, you can switch back and forth between windows, or you can tile your views to have two things open at the same time to look at them. Over here on the left, the browser, it just gives you a history of everything that you've done as you're working. Okay, and it will expand. And if you will expand the origin folder right there, here's where your axes and your planes are. And by default, they're hidden. But if you mouse over them, you can see them highlight what they are, okay? You can turn them on and off. So you can right click it and turn on visibility. Just they're yellow against a white background. So it makes it a little difficult to see. Well, let me bring that back because I don't think I addressed that in the program defaults. But if you go into, let's see, Big I, no, File, Options, under Colors, I have mine set to this as presentation with a white background, because I find it easier when I'm making the screen recordings if it's this way, and then doing if I use the projector in the lab up onto the overhead projector. So I keep it as a white background. Okay. I think I've covered a lot of the basic menu kind of stuff here. The file, just like most other programs, you've got news, you've got save as. Okay. The pack and go, we'll talk about pack and goes later. Exports, you can save your thing as an image or a PDF. We'll get into some of those. Okay. I'm looking through my notes here on what happened to my file. Okay, so let's how much time have I got going here? I got 15 minutes. Let's go into the sketch environment. So open, if you don't have one, open you up a part file and go to sketch and go start a 2D sketch. And now all of your planes and axes are visible for you. And so you click on a plane that you want to use. So the XY plane is going to be the front. Okay, and you look at your view cube. Now, one thing about it is oftentimes in a metric drawing, for some reason that will rotate upside down or backwards. It's kind of weird the way the defaults for the metric template work. But now you're in a sketch environment, and you've got your sketch tools here: align, circle, arc, rectangles. You can hit the more pull downs, and you can see the different things here. Um, Circle, you got three different types of circles. Okay, arcs, rectangles, you got different types of rectangles and slots and polygons. And then you've got modification things here to modify it, make a fillet, uh, things like that on the create a block. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with a line. Okay, and now I'm going to start it at the 0, 0 point. And you see I get a green dot that shows up. That means it's going to constrain itself to that origin point. And if I drag out to the side, it gives me a distance and an angle. If I go vertical, you can see a pop-up of a vertical constraint right there, the black and the red thing there. And it also tells me I'm at 90 degrees. I can type in, I can drag my mouse for whatever I want, or I can type in the distance I want. So I'm going to say 0.5, and it's at vertical, and I press enter on the keyboard. And it dimensioned it automatically for me. Now, if I just come out to the side and just drag, you can see I've got a perpendicular constraint. Okay, at 90, it's at 90 degrees, so it automatically goes perpendicular. If I just click, and I'm just going to go down through here and put in some shapes, okay? Now I'm going to hit escape on my keyboard to end that command. If I were to, just like in AutoCAD, if I were to type close, oh, it didn't work. There's a shortcut to make it close. I can't remember what it is. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to delete out of that. Now I can apply, I've made a rough sketch. I did a direct entry on my dimension there. Well, I can dimension now. And with Inventor, you can select the actual line you want to dimension and pull it out. And then because in my options, my application options, I changed it so that I can edit the dimension when I place the dimension. If you didn't make that change, then you'll have to place the dimension, exit the dimensioning command, and then click on the dimension again to edit it. So I'm going to make this 0.25 and then enter. Okay, you can also dimension, and you can also dimension point to point. Okay, and it just depends on what your object is and what the shape of it is as to which is easiest. Okay. All right, so now if I want to come back in and do another line, then I'll come back here and say I got a green snap. It's going to put a coincident constraint so that the end of the line is selected there. And I'm going to come out here a little bit, and you notice the constraint that it shows there. That's my collinear constraint. Okay, so it means it's in line with the previous line. If I click a point, it's draw that line. But now if I stay on that point and hold down my mouse button, my left mouse button, I can start drawing an arc. And you notice I get some snaps for the size of it. And then I released my mouse button Okay. And that's one way of drawing an arc within the line command. It takes a little bit of getting used to. Trying to select the end of the things is a little bit difficult. There we go. Okay. All right, and you can apply dimensions to these things. Okay. All right. Now, as you're dimensioning a sketch, you'll notice down here in the lower right corner it says 2 dimensions needed. It may not seem like it to you, but it's very important that when you do a sketch in Inventor, that your sketches are what we call fully constrained, meaning that they cannot move around. And this one is not. It needs 2 more dimensions, one of which is the length of this line, um, and the length from the center point out to here. So let's apply a dimension from here to that center point. Let's make that 0.6. And now it says I've got one more dimension needed. It's probably the angle of this line. So what we can do, if you don't know what, is you can just try grabbing one of your objects and try moving it. Aha. Okay. So that tells me that this line here did not have a horizontal constraint applied to it. So I'm going to Control Z back out of that. And uh, constraints, we're a little early on constraints, but we'll talk about them a little bit. This one is a horizontal constraint. So I click it and then click that line, and it applied the constraint, and it tells me I'm fully constrained. Now I can finish my sketch, and there it is. Okay, so that's my sketch. And then I can do the extrude. So I can go back to my 3D model, and I can go extrude, and it will pick it'll pick a closed profile, and then I can tell it a distance. I can tell it a direction. I got it coming forward. I can flip it so that it goes back. I can extrude it symmetrically, meaning halfway in each direction from my plane, or asymmetrically, a different direction from each plane. You 99% of the time, your output is going to be a solid. Okay, so if you somehow turn this on, surface mode, what you're going to end up creating is just surfaces. It'll be hollow on the inside. But we want a solid body, okay, in most of the things that we're doing. And so I'm going to say, okay. Let's look at advanced properties here. Taper, yeah, we're not going to get into that yet. So I would say, okay. All right, so what ended up happening is I ended up, when I hit that thing, it created multiple extrusions. So I should have had just one extrusion there. If I expand this, it's called it extrusion 1 and sketch 1 because it's going to name them as we're going through it. If I need to edit my sketch, I can come here and I can double click that, and it takes me back to the sketch environment. Don't go up here and click start a 2D sketch if you intend to edit a sketch. Okay. And from within here, you can change the sizes of things. So I can click that dimension and I can make that 2 inches. Ooh, failed to dimension edit value. Oh, because I have this dimension here, I have this dimension and a radius dimension here. So I can't change that one. So I can delete this one. Come on. Now I can change that. I could change this one. Because remember, this little line segment here didn't have a dimension on it. And we didn't have a wow, that was too big. Let's undo that. And the center point of this needs to move up. Because that was supposed to be tangent coming across here. It's still not tangent, as you can see right there. So I could apply a dimension. I could go with a dimension from the center point down to that line and make that 0.5. Okay. And then I've still got these two lines right here, and that's causing a problem. So I'm just going to delete that one. Oh, I'm still in dimension mode here. I'm going to delete that one. And here we get into our modify stuff here. I can extend that line until the next point where it crosses something, and it automatically applies a coincident constraint on that. Okay. One dimension needed. Probably it's a tangent constraint with this, I would imagine. So talking about constraints, so let's come down here. Display all constraints. And here can show you, because remember some of these the program put in. Here we go. We've got a vertical constraint on this line, and then we got a perpendicular constraint there, a perpendicular there. And when I deleted that little line segment, it got rid of the perpendicular there, which would have made this one horizontal. Okay, we've got tangent for there. That's horizontal. I put this dimension in, so that forced it to be tangent down here. So let's add a perpendicular constraint to these two. Oh, it didn't click. There we go. And now we're fully constrained. I can finish, and you see it automatically updates the model. Okay, let me pause this video and then come back with another.